Hey, my name's Jack. I'm the founder and former editor-in-chief of Crack.com and the host of the new How Stuff Works comedic news and pop culture podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist. Our goal is to tell you about the ideas that are out there changing the world. We talk politics and news, but we also cover supermarket tabloids, which might seem stupid, but millions of people pass those every day, and they absorb the ideas on the cover whether they want to or not. We also take movies pretty seriously because when we picture something that we haven't experienced, you generally use movies. You probably picture Terminator 2 when picturing a nuclear explosion, even though that's not actually what they'd look like. Anyways, we're trying to take the temperature of what's affecting the national shared consciousness, which sounds a little more hippie-ish than we actually are. But fair warning, guys, some of the content can get a little edgy, so not for young ears, but trust us, it's all in good fun. So go to Apple Podcasts and listen and subscribe to The Daily Zeitgeist. It's very good, is our catchphrase. We're kind of workshopping it.
All right, what am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to lead the show? I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to say. I know what I saw last night, but I feel like we've done this before. The Russillo Show, Will Cain today, time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Will LeBron James go to the Houston Rockets? Is Will Cain going to tear it up at happy hour tonight? We're going to assess the quarterbacks that we used to love 2 years ago versus the quarterbacks that we love this year. Young dudes.
But first, what are you supposed to talk about?
You got to lead with the Pats. I mean, you don't have to. If you had some really great, clever, written-out take on some other thing that I would defer, I would say, okay, yeah, we can do that instead. But I think you have to lead with the Pats when they go down and lose to a Miami team the way they did. I mean, it's a one-score game, not if you watched it.
And what are you supposed to say?
Okay, here's what I would do. I would go, do I come in today and go, man, this Pats team that we all love, number one in everybody's power rankings, you know, some defensive problems again. Brady was terrible on third down. So you could do two different things. You could go, oh, that defense that was so bad in the beginning of the year, is it actually sneaky, not that good, and tricking us for a few in-between months? Now they're going to be bad, and I can't think about them as a Super Bowl winner. Everything with New England is, can this team win a Super Bowl? Or I could do the, did Brady turn 40 last night?
Oh, that's that one.
Is anybody doing that one today?
Yes.
So he got old
overnight.
Last night.
He went from MVP candidate to finger slipping off the edge of the cliff in one night.
Well, how do you want to do the topic?
Let's start with Brady.
Okay, no problem.
But the theme, Ryan, that you're hinting at is the same, whether or not it's the Patriots in general or Tom Brady in particular. It's how can we overreact to a sample size of one game? How can we reevaluate everything that we know, even after we've been warned? How can we make this same mistake again? The warning, when it comes to the Pats, is we were granted a 4-game sample size at the beginning of the season that the Pats defense is horrendous.
The worst. It was the worst in the NFL about a month into the season.
And it was true.
Yeah.
But it was carried over to is a fatal flaw and can't be fixed.
It was, I think it was okay. At the time, you'd look at the personnel and you'd go, is that front really good enough? Can they be an average defense? Because even last year when they were number one in points, it was weird. It felt weird. It felt like they weren't a dominant defense. And yet I looked at it going into last night. They were 4th in scoring defense. Now they're 5th in scoring defense. And yes, the personnel along that front is not impressive. I mean, when Flowers is out, you're like, okay, who are the dudes that I'm even afraid of? And Cutler looked good against him last night. But wouldn't it be stupid when we just did this a couple months ago? Like if you were off the Pats, because you go, you know what, that defense, it can't be fixed. They fixed it. They're giving you evidence of the thing you're thinking about doing by getting off of New England this season. We're not even talking about past seasons. This season, they already went from this awful, awful defense to righting the ship for 2 months to a bad performance last night. And yardage-wise, they're still terrible, but they're 5th in scoring defense. So
29th in yardage.
Yeah, they're one of the, 4 worst teams.
Right, but 5th in points allowed.
That's a pretty wide gap.
Hey, my name's Jack. I'm the founder and former editor-in-chief of Crack.com and the host of the new How Stuff Works comedic news and pop culture podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist. Our goal is to tell you about the ideas that are out there changing the world. We talk politics and news, but we also cover supermarket tabloids, which might seem stupid, but millions of people pass those every day, and they absorb the ideas on the cover whether they want to or not. We also take movies pretty seriously because when we picture something that we haven't experienced, you generally use movies. You probably picture Terminator 2 when picturing a nuclear explosion, even though that's not actually what they'd look like. Anyways, we're trying to take the temperature of what's affecting the national shared consciousness, which sounds a little more hippie-ish than we actually are. But fair warning, guys, some of the content can get a little edgy, so not for young ears, but trust us, it's all in good fun. So go to Apple Podcasts and listen and subscribe to the Daily Zeitgeist. It's very good, is our catchphrase. We're kind of workshopping it.
All right. What am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to lead the show? I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to say. I know what I saw last night, but I feel like we've done this before. The Russillo Show, Will Cain today. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Will LeBron James go to the Houston Rockets? Is Will Cain going to tear it up at happy hour tonight? We're going to assess the quarterbacks that we used to love 2 years ago versus the quarterbacks that we love this year. Young dudes.
But first, what are you supposed to talk about?
You got to lead with the Pats. I mean, you don't have to. If you had some really great, clever, written-out take on some other thing that I would defer, I would say, okay, yeah, we can do that instead. But I think you have to lead with the Pats when they go down and lose to a Miami team the way they did. I mean, it's a one-score game, not if you watched it.
And what are you supposed to say?
Okay, here's what I would do. I would go, do I come in today and go, man, this Pats team that we all love, number one in everybody's power rankings, some defensive problems again. Brady was terrible on third down. So you could do two different things. You could go, that defense that was so bad in the beginning of the year, is it actually sneaky, not that good, and tricking us for a few in-between months? Now they're going to be bad, and I can't think about them as a Super Bowl winner. Everything with New England is, can this team win a Super Bowl? Or I could do did Brady turn 40 last night?
Oh, that's that one.
Is anybody doing that one today?
Yes.
So he got old
overnight.
Last night.
He went from MVP candidate to finger slipping off the edge of the cliff in one night.
Well, how do you want to do the topic?
Let's start with Brady.
Okay, no problem.
But the theme, Ryan, that you're hinting at is the same, whether or not it's the Patriots in general or Tom Brady in particular. It's how can we overreact to a sample size of one game? How can we reevaluate everything that we know, even after we've been warned? How can we make this same mistake again? The warning, when it comes to the Pats, is we were granted a 4-game sample size at the beginning of the season that the Pats defense is horrendous.
It was the worst in the NFL about a month into the season.
And it was true.
Yeah.
But it was carried over to is a fatal flaw and can't be fixed.
I think it was okay at the time. You'd look at the personnel and you'd go, is that front really good enough? Can they be an average defense? Because even last year when they were number one in points, it was weird. It felt weird. It felt like they weren't a dominant defense. And yet I looked at it going into last night. They were 4th in scoring defense. Now they're 5th in scoring defense. And yes, the personnel along that front is not impressive. I mean, when Flowers is out, you're like, okay, who are the dudes that I'm even afraid of? And Cutler looked good against him last night. But wouldn't it be stupid when we just did this a couple months ago? Like if you were off the Pats, because you go, you know what, that defense, it can't be fixed. They fixed it. They're giving you evidence of the thing you're thinking about doing by getting off of New England this season. We're not even talking about past seasons. This season, they already went from this awful, awful defense to righting the ship for 2 months to a bad performance last night. And yardage-wise, they're still terrible, but they're 5th in scoring defense. So
29th in yardage.
Yeah, they're one of the 4 worst teams.
Right, but 5th in points allowed.
That's a pretty wide gap. And the second
It's also the kind of statistic that you should raise red flags on. It is the kind of statistic you should go, do you trust that points per game are always going to be low when yardage is high?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways that we could do this. The metrics will tell you it's not very good. Like I was looking at some of that stuff today. So forget the scoring, defense, look at the metrics. It's not very good. It's not very good. I mean, you go, okay, but if you really want to bet against this team,
no.
Because if you've been saying, I'm playing the other side of the Pats bet, you're not just broke. You're like shelters ask you to leave. Okay.
Well, and now you're the guy in the corner of the shelter mumbling to himself.
I was right.
About Brady and the cliff. Because that guy, he's not just thrown out of the shelter. he's talking to himself, and those guys do exist. You asked if anybody's saying that today. Are people waking up today going, I told you so? Yes, but the guy who's saying Brady turned 40 last night, and Brady had a horrible game. Brady had his worst game of the season.
It was bad last night. Now, Howard, the corner, turned into Deion Sanders. Those two picks the second pick by him going one-on-one with Brandon Cooks and catching up to him and catching it over his shoulder. Dude, that's one of the best interceptions you're ever going to see.
I laid off Twitter. I was like, I don't want to do
this. I like
this.
that.
Yeah.
That's good.
But that pick made me tweet. A very simple and obvious tweet. That's one hell of an interception. He hit the Jets, and not only did he hit the Jets and suck up Cooks, he caught that. I mean, it was pure hands, like on the run. There was no body catching. It was beautiful. That guy, Xavier Howard, I mean, the Dolphins in general, by the way, they have some players. Xavier Howard, Kenyon Drake is emerging as a real player in this league. But we're not going to reevaluate Tom Brady overnight. And the only guys that are saying, this is the cliff, this is the one I was telling you about, are the guys who've been telling you about it for a year. The guys have been saying this is coming, this is how it happens quickly, fruit turns overnight, meat goes quickly on the table, are saying this is it now. And I would say one game versus an MVP level performance throughout the year when he turns 40.
Will Cain, The Russillo Show, ESPN Radio, Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We're going to talk Embiid coming up a little bit later, LeBron to Houston, this article that came out, executives talking about it. I agree with you on the Brady thing. Like, you don't get to be the front runner for the MVP, but I think now him having the game last night allows Russell Wilson to be maybe back in this conversation with the game that he had against Jacksonville with Wentz being hurt.
I think it opens up the door to Antonio Brown. I think there's a real conversation about a wide receiver winning MVP, and the performance of those two guys and Wentz's injury makes that an open door that we should be discussing.
I think Breeze should be mentioned in it. I was looking at some of Breeze's stuff this morning. I know his total touchdowns aren't as high as they normally be. The guy's completing 72% of his passes, and he's top 5 in yardage. So now that we've reset what that group is, and this is just two dudes hanging out doing it, I've never been one to believe that the Brady thing just gets to happen. Like, he's the guy that just gets to decide to not age. Like, you really want to tell me avoiding certain fruits is the key? Like, you're telling me the pajamas and the sleeping, and now I'll admit at home, I crank the thermostat down a few degrees at home at night just to increase my age.
That's what they say.
Yeah, like I'm going, you know what? Let's get in the mid-60s here, Rye. Let's live a little bit longer. You got a lot of living ahead of you.
Maybe I should do that.
So
I said, where are you right now?
This is the whole 66 or so, 66 degrees.
71.
Yeah, I used to be a 70.
Yeah.
And now I'm down to 66, and I got to tell you, I'm loving it.
Don't toss and turn. Don't wake up in the middle of the night. Just hibernating.
I wake up all night. I watched Papillon the other night. Does not hold up. Leper Colony. Misspoke.
I need to see that.
Yeah, Papillon, Steve
That's
McQueen.
The second sell you put on me in the last 2 days on this movie.
Yeah, I'm in a big Steve McQueen phase here. Speaking of hot guys, so back to Brady.
Yeah.
I don't think just because you have the method and the pliability and the diet and all the stuff that you get to just play till 45, although I respect the determination, almost talking yourself into it. It's not a lie if you believe it approach that Brady has to aging. Like,
yeah,
no, man.
You're wrong on this one. This isn't LeVar Ball manifesting it with his words. It will be because I say it will be. This is a dude that has totally adjusted his lifestyle, put some thought, research, and science into it. He's not eating nightshades and strawberries, sleeping in the chambers you're talking about, wearing the special pajamas, doing the stretches that you talked about, the pliability. Every single aspect of his life, from the ice cream to the girlfriend, are coordinated so that he can be an NFL quarterback at 45. I think he does get to be the guy.
So you think he does?
I think he's the guy.
Okay, we disagree on that, but at 40, turning 40 in August, I don't think it's crazy that he's still playing really well with the way he plays. The fact that he's going to know his offense and everywhere everyone's supposed to be the entire time. Like, it's just a different level, but I imagine there's going to be some hit where he looks old, and then he'll be bad at playing quarterback.
Somebody tweeted last night, it might have been Pablo Torre, said, the dude that won't eat a strawberry just lost to the dude that said, I don't need to have cardio because I play quarterback.
Yeah, that was Pablo.
Trump, LeBron, Kaepernick.
It wouldn't be as big
LeVar
on this show as it would be other shows.
That's a fact, but it'd still be big.
Yeah, but we haven't done a ton of it. We just haven't. Like, I don't know what the segment is.
What would the word be that was bigger, though? LeBron?
The cap goes up. say the phrase the cap goes up quite a bit. Maybe that would be last year. But I guess what I can't understand in deciding on where you were at politically, and I got to play this Belichick stuff here in a second, but like friends of mine that I love these people, like close friends, and then they start their day firing off tweets at the president because he said something stupid, and I go, like, what? Why would you want to drive yourself that crazy? Like, why? I can understand being so passionate about things. I can understand being really upset, and I like. There's times where I go, dude, are you serious? Like, you couldn't just, but it's not. Like, yes, this is the game. This is what I'm going to do. I mean, anytime you're talking about me, I'm going to do these things. And I have these close friends that I think are like really smart people. And I go, you've already worked yourself up into a massive emotional frenzy, and you probably haven't even showered yet. Anyway, somebody that takes himself, or at least this moment, a little bit less seriously, that's Bill Belichick. Okay, so Belichick after the loss, and they were bad. Okay, so don't ever make the mistake with that loss at Miami that the Pats were in it. There was a 27-20 game. Although it felt like for this weird time when Dolphins kept passing and passing and passing, you're going, do you guys not want to run out the clock? Like, what do you want to do here? But Dolphins were clearly the better team last night, right? So Belichick was asked a bunch of questions, and the first was trap game. Were you looking ahead to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Think any of the guys might have been looking ahead to next week, looking past Miami?
No. Give me a break. Any questions about the game or no?
That was a question about the game. But the give me a break, that's when you know. You go, probably done tonight.
Do you think a reporter that gets burned like that just takes his pen and go home?
Yeah.
I'm done. That's it.
Yeah, I thought that was relevant. Damn it. You got me again.
It's like asking a question of the professor. That's the relationship he's been able to cultivate with the press. Do I approve of your question?
Yeah, but the professor you can't stand.
Right, but
Yeah.
you need approval from. For some reason, for a grade, for the shine, for whatever it is, for validation. You're like, God, I hope he likes this question. And do you think the guy that asked the question, the one rare question that Belichick indulges and goes on like a 2-minute rant about the intricacies of punting or something, that guy goes back home. They all go back to the press box. He's like, you really nailed that one, man.
No, I think what happens is, look, I worked up there for a while, and some of the Pats people that were on the beat all the time would look down at like the basketball people, like, oh, what are you doing? You doing Celtics tonight? 3 rings. I'd be like, do you have any rings? I forget which plays did you make against the Rams in New Orleans? There was this almost
press there.
Yeah, there was almost this thing where it's like, oh, you covering the seas? What are you guys talking about? You guys talking about Ricky Davis trade? So there would be some that were confrontational, or some that couldn't stand Belichick that would ask off the beat, and they would have had to have all sorts of juice with their newspaper or whatever. And then there was, like a Mike Reese has been around forever. Mike Reese asks good questions. I think there's some people that he respects that are there all the time, that they know the game, the right football questions to ask. But then there would be the dude who just wants to not have Belichick get mad at him, and it's the total butt-kissing move. And he'd be like, hey, Bill, how do you address a team like this? What do you say to the guys? And then Bill will kind of ask it because it's not, he just go, well, yeah, we're going to have sandwiches, get on a plane. Hopefully it's a good movie. But you could always see it and be like, you're just the dude that, like, you're talking. You're not even asking him anything. Here's Belichick on why they struggle in the 305.
Can you put your hand? Any particular reason why there seems to be continued struggles every year you come down here? It's 4 out of 5 years now you've lost down here.
And I'm not
on anything why here is such a struggle.
Were you here last year?
Well, last year you lost the previous
Yeah,
time.
so look, every game's its own game, okay? I mean, I don't think what happened 5 years ago has anything to do with tonight.
And the best one, the onside kick that was a little different, where they hit this little dribbler and they all kind of ran together after it.
Can you explain the onside kick? What happened with that kick?
They recovered it.
Accurate.
That cut's missing the punch that he puts in most of them, like, give me a break.
The give me a break one's the best one.
Well, don't underestimate the okay, in the second cut. Every game's different, okay? The okay that's the insult in the whole thing. Don't you get this?
We wanted to do this thing on quarterbacks from the 2015-16 class. We'll do that a little bit later, but there is the update that needs to happen with LeBron James. Could it be the Houston Rockets? I will tell you kind of how this story plays out. That's next. Will Cain, The Russillo Show, ESPN Radio. A piece in ESPN, the magazine, on Joel Embiid from Ramona Shelburne has some great thoughts, and Embiid extremely aware of what it's like, your role as a superstar in the NBA and how it changes. Will Cain today, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. We'll compare rates for you so you get the best deal, even if it's not with us, saving you time and money. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today. But right now I want to get to this piece from Sam Amick, USA Today, right? And we're hoping to maybe get him on a little bit later today. And it's a big part of First Take. And you already see the graphic bar. It says, NBA execs believe Rockets have, quote, real chance to sign LeBron, because from the piece, it says rival executives also believe the Rockets will have a real chance. The funny thing is that the quote on the TV show is from the piece that's the writer, where this is him just talking to people around the league going, Houston has a real spot. So then it becomes, well, what does this actually mean?
Well, when we talked about this earlier, I got to tell you, like, no analysis into this, no thought, no first take on this. It doesn't make sense to me that LeBron James ends up in Houston. It just doesn't seem like the career path that LeBron James would take. In other words, I think he wants to be high profile. I think he wants to be transformative. I think he wants to end up in places where he can leave a legacy like Cleveland. I think Miami was about being with his buddies, and I think everything adds up to ending up a Los Angeles Laker. A storied franchise, some young talent, just bought a new home in L.A. That makes sense. Houston is hard to make sense on all of those factors except for one. It is most likely the best opportunity for him to win a championship and to compete with the Golden State Warriors.
Well, the Rockets thing has gone around for a while as a possible landing spot. So I don't know if this is real, like intel, or if this is what happens at times. And it happens. Like NBA people that work for teams gossip the same way we gossip about it on the air, but it just sounds better when they say it, okay? And some of them are on point, and some of them are just kind of having fun, kicking around, talking to a reporter, going, yeah, I could see Houston. Can I point out something, though, with you? I feel like, and you may get really annoyed with me right now, Will.
Okay.
But when you guys
I'm nervous. Where's this going?
Present your positions on the TV show,
okay,
I almost feel like you guys will, like, go, hey, do I have 7 deep? Do I have 7 reasons deep that will fortify my position? Do I have can I go to 8 things? Can I add a 9th thing? Him having a house in LA means literally nothing.
He just bought a new one.
It doesn't, but that means he's already had one. So why didn't he go before? So, like, if you're doing, hey, I don't see the Rockets, I don't think it's a fit, then I think,
by the way, I don't think that's 9 deep. We're just going to have to agree to disagree on this one.
Okay.
I think LeBron buying a house last week, a new, what was it, $23 million mansion?
Yeah.
I think, at the very least, that's super fishy. If it's going to be your 4th home, what's wrong with the one you had? Why do you need a second? Can you deny that's investing in L.A.?
Oh, my God. What am I, on the witness stand? So this is my point. What the hell does that have to do with anything? Yes, he'll be paying taxes in L.A., and those will go to community outreach programs. Like, technically, I have to answer yes that it's investing in L.A., but why? Like, the L.A. Lakers storied franchise, not the Houston Rockets. Okay, fine. Like, you can't see him in the Rockets jersey versus the Lakers jersey. What is the young talent on L.A. other than a million question marks right now? Do you think LeBron James wants anything to do with the LeVar Ball deal and his son? He really is like, I can't wait to sign up with this. This is going to be sick.
Can I tell you something, Ryan? You may get irritated with me.
Okay.
But your show. You do this thing. I just said it was my first take that had no analysis behind it. It is simply, I can't picture him in Houston versus picture him in L.A. I do think the house thing is very fishy, and I think you're waving your hand at it. But you took the whole thing I caveated and said, just letting you know my gut instinct here, my first take.
Yeah.
You took that and started to attack it when it was never designed to be attacked. I told you that wasn't 7 or 8 deep. That was 0 deep. That was the Will Cain, I can't picture him going to Houston, Texas and wearing a pinstripe jersey take. My well-researched take, I know what I'm talking about take, is, yes, this roster with his best friend or one of his 2 or 3 best friends on it, with James Harden going bananas at 32 points and 9 assists a game, makes a ton of sense if you really actually want to use titles as your legacy. That if your point is beating the Golden State Warriors, this is your opportunity. That one, which we didn't get to because you want to jump on my LA take.
I did.
Is my real analysis.
I like that better.
I still think he's going to be a Laker, though.
Okay, but if we were on the TV show, if we were on First Take, I think the goal of the show is, okay, can I beat you over the head with numerous examples, even if if example 3, 4, and 5 are thin?
Well, dude, you and I talked the other
show.
day, and you told me this. You go, I think mistake some people make, is they shoot their whole, like, evidence holster.
Yeah, I got you.
They shoot all their bullets on their first go and don't leave anything for their rebuttal, right? And you and I talked about that because you're going to have to, on First Take, where you have 10 minutes for a single debate, you're going to have to be able to rebut your opponent 2 or 3 times.
Right.
So it would be wise to have, 4 or 5 points. And you could go the Donald Trump route and just have one that you hammer over and over and over because simplicity usually wins the day. But yeah, I do like to go 3 or 4 deep. 9, not 9.
Not
3
9.
or 4.
No, but there was something
more
else
evidence
recently
is
where
better than less.
I went, yep. No, I don't. I think that you can actually hurt your points
by that last little extra one that didn't have a lot of weight to it.
Yeah, by just like going, hey, here's another one, and you go, that's not really even relevant. So now I'm focusing on that one that was weak and thin, and now your first 2 aren't as strong.
That's good advice. Seriously.
Do you guys need me in the pre-show meeting at First Take?
Well, I don't. I think that's pretty clear. I can give you those other guys' numbers if you want.
No, I big fan of everybody. All right. Will Cain has a social calendar dilemma.
Do I or do you?
Oh, I think,
or do we?
I think we both do. I think we both
should sort this out on air.
Yeah, we should. All right, so we're gonna have. I don't even know if it's story time. It'll be fun, and if it isn't, I'll pivot and we'll play Belichick sound. But yeah, something very, very unique could go down tonight, and it involves all of your favorite talkers. Will Cain, the Russillo Show, ESPN Radio. Joel Embiid gets it. Well, he gets it now because he's winning, or at least the team's winning more than you'd expect. He's playing great. A feature on him. The balls to Lithuania. Will Cain will blow your mind with his take on this.
Somebody just tweeted that it makes them sad when you and I fight.
I don't think that was a fight.
I don't either. We were smiling.
We were. It was a very cordial disagreement. But I wish I had brought better evidence.
A couple extra weak ones would have sealed the deal.
Just a few irrelevant sentences at the end of my initial point. Nailed it. I'm not talking about you. We got a couple things. We got a lot of things going down. The social calendar.
Yeah.
We all work hard here, okay? Is the job the hardest? We're not digging ditches, but it's demanding. My man Will over here is away from his family half the week.
That's true.
I wouldn't be surprised if your wife started going through your phone. I don't believe you're doing anything wrong, but I mean, on the road.
Yeah,
the
we're cool.
Salesman.
We're good.
You're
cool.
good. I know you're good because you're boring.
I'm boring.
You don't do anything.
I'm boring.
You're like, can we move on? Anyway, moving on. All
Not
the talents
very far,
in town.
though.
All the talents in town tonight. And that means some of the local lounges, some of the happy hours, it's going up on a Tuesday. So you're in one of these hotels. So are you going to just Uber from spot to spot?
Oh, I don't stay at the high-end hotel. So you're right. All the on-air personalities at ESPN are supposedly converging on Bristol today,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Which means, happy hour tonight ought to be a place to, see and be seen.
See and be seen, exactly. Like, wear something nice. Hey, what's new?
Right.
Yeah.
And
so are you going to go out?
I'm still sort of a new guy.
Are you going to go out tonight?
No. Are you?
No. I live here.
See, I'm still sort of a new guy. There are many, many people I have not met in person.
Okay. All right. Speaking of fun on a Tuesday, Cerruti, as our representative on the fun committee here in the department, this isn't even an ESPN thing. Although, a side note to ESPN, there's radio and there's TV. I travel for radio for game day, and then I travel with TV game day. I didn't expect that to be even because it shouldn't have been. But it's a different world. Different world, man. And every morning, Wingo, Golick Jr., they get some muffins, they get a couple eggs, they get some OJ and some coffee. And a kid from TV walked over to the lounge and waited until they were off the air and poured himself a tall, and I'm not saying a 16-ounce glass, like a 24-ounce glass of OJ. And he looked at me, he's like, hey, I'm just, grabbing some OJ. And you go, dude, we're in radio. Can you let us keep the OJ? So radio has stepped it up as a department. The goal has been in 2017 to have more fun. And the best way to figure out how to have fun is to ask a millennial. And Cerruti is still a millennial. And you're on the fun committee. So what is on tap for tonight?
Got a huge bowling event going down 7 o'clock in Southington. It's going to be some PAs, some producers, some executives, some bosses. So it's a good mix of people.
What will the turnout be? A dozen?
I think we had like 18 or so is the number.
Wow.
So
any on air?
No. Well, I don't even know if you guys are invited.
We got one. Jeff Dickerson.
Oh, there we go.
And also, I'm on the fun committee, too, so let's not – come on.
Who's better on the fun committee, Bubba, you or Cerruti?
We both are great.
No.
That's not true. I don't care.
We're both a lot of fun.
Do you know that we have some bowlers among us?
I didn't. I mean, I
if you just take a look at the control room, okay?
I'm going to say
just
Cerruti's
look at the
terrible
control
at
room and survey everything behind the glass. Who is the top bowler? Rank them bowlers. Mike
A,
Bubba, and Cerruti.
Mike A, Bubba, and then Cerruti at a distant third.
Did you already know that?
No, I'm looking at everyone, and I'm going, I bet Mike A is a good bowler.
Bubba has his own shirt, though.
Mike
and
A.
Not
ball.
shirt.
Shoes.
He's got shoes.
And ball.
He got
but
shoes.
Mike A, I'm not good. I was in a league, but it doesn't mean I'm good. I was in a league. I bought all the stuff. I can throw it, roll it, but
throw it.
Mike is actually like good at bowling.
I was on the bowling team in high school. Yeah.
Did not know they had bowling
Back up,
teams in high
ladies.
school.
Yeah, you guys must have been terrors on the road.
Yeah.
What conference?
My OC in football was the bowling coach, and he said I didn't have to run sprints if I came out for the bowling team.
So what's your average? What's your average?
Back then it was about 196.
Wow.
All right. I asked Mike A. He goes tonight. What? You like that?
No one likes it as much as I do.
Do it again. Mike A. bowls a 196.
That kills me. I want it all the time. I want it even when it doesn't make sense.
Mike, what will you bowl tonight?
If I get higher of 150, I'll be happy.
Bubba, will
It's
you
been
go?
a while.
Bubba?
Probably a sixer.
Yeah, my goal is just to get over 100 each. 120 would be cool. I'd be cool with that.
How much fun do you expect to have? How much more fun do you anticipate having, considering this is a fun committee event and not just your average get-together bowl deal?
I think the fun level will be high. It's the department paid for it, so the execs paid for it all. We have we have food. They're supplying the food, and it's a cash bar. So
cash bar, not bad.
We'll do that.
Not bad.
Would you break 100 if you went tonight?
Yeah, I would.
Would you go if you couldn't break 100?
I've been accused of a lot of things here lately. Like, I got accused by a bunch of people on the pull-up contest of, like, sitting it out because I didn't want to embarrass myself.
Can I just say, the pull-up peanut gallery was the worst.
It was. But I knew that was going to happen because you guys were doing the kipping thing. You didn't. I'm going to tell you right now.
I kipped.
Your pull-ups, yeah, but what you were doing was far more impressive than what Hasselbeck did. Okay? So those weren't 30 straight pull-ups. That's
right.
That kipping thing that's
We
different.
agreed to it ahead of time. But
Right.
I got to tell you, internet pull-up guy, he's the worst.
Well, they told me that I was too much of an egomaniac to put myself in a position to fail and come in third, yet completely forgetting that someone had to stay and do the show still.
Right.
Yeah, like
What kept you out wasn't the show.
Yeah,
it was fear.
Maybe those are true, but someone did have to stay behind to do the segment.
But if we were at the gym and we broke into a pull-up competition, you're like, I probably can't win this. Would you tap out and not do it anyway?
No, I would try.
Okay, good.
I would try, but I wouldn't do those. I wouldn't do the kipping things.
Oh, you're an internet pull-up guy with a microphone.
I'm not saying that was easy what you guys did. He was in a suit and he went over 30, but it's a completely different deal. And we also learned that Chad Kroger, that's the lead singer for Nickelback, and he's going to make a rejoin here. Okay, Joel Embiid, he was absolutely one very specific guy, and then became the other guy. That's next. It's ESPN Radio.
Hello, the Internet. It's Jack O'Brien, the founder and former editor-in-chief of Crack.com and the host of the new comedic news podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist, which, as the name suggests, is daily and sporadically in German. If you like cracked, How Stuff Works podcasts and want to get your news from some of the smartest and funniest comedic and journalistic minds around, well then, this show is going to make you all over the place.
Yeah, I don't think we can use that.
Sure we can. Go to Apple Podcasts to listen and subscribe.
The quarterbacks from 2015 versus the quarterbacks of 2016, something we haven't done yet. We haven't even touched on the Ball family of Lithuania, which we may get to here a little bit. We got Will Cain today. The Russillo Show brought to you by Upside.com, giving all business travelers the gift of a better travel experience this holiday season. Upside.com. Remember when RG3 was awesome?
Yes.
You remember when everyone loved all of his social media posts?
Yes, followed him.
You followed him.
Might still. Don't go through purges very often.
No pressure, no diamonds. Know your why.
Mm-hmm.
There's no comeback without the whatever. You know, I don't know how that goes. And then remember how he's doing a bunch of ads? And I went down to D.C. It's one of the only times I've been down there. I'm not there that often. And I was there for the home opener when he was coming back from the knee injury. And it was like a religious experience. This is RG3. And then everybody stopped liking him.
Yeah.
What do you think happened?
Man, there are certain stories in the news, and I've told you this before, that I stop reading. Like when the cycle of drama, and this applies to very, very, very serious news items as well. When I was in politics and news, it's like there's just certain ones. I don't even want to name them because I don't want to diminish them. But when I feel like the story is repetitive, I stop reading it. And sometimes I don't keep up because it's like, I read that story like 4 months ago, right? Surely. I mean, the degree of difference has to be small. The RG3 drama, Santana Moss, Dan Snyder, this guy, that guy.
The dad being involved, sticking with Cousins, Shanahan's role.
It reached that level for me. It's just like, okay, we're doing this. It feels like a washing machine. We're doing this drama over and over and over again.
You're accurate about all that stuff, and your answer is more in-depth than mine.
Okay.
Mine's a simpler one. He was winning, and then they were losing. So then it's you hit send on a tweet, and you go, oh, you got another catchphrase, dude? Like, you're not winning 10 games anymore. And I think that's almost the story with every single guy. I think it comes down to that all the time. Like Baker Mayfield, if they lost, if they didn't win a lot of games, you'd be going, can't have that. Too much of a distraction. Got to stay locked into the game. But he's awesome. Oklahoma's in the playoff. And I think the same could be said for Joel Embiid. Embiid is one of the most impressive young players this game has ever seen. That's how special he is. And the only thing that's gotten in his way is injuries. But I'm telling you, for the 2 years that he sat out, and he's even self-aware of this because he does this piece, ESPN the magazine, out now, Ramona Shelburne, this whole piece with her, where he talks about his social media presence. And for the most part, it's fun. And he even admits himself, yes, I start going down roads that are maybe a little dangerous, and for every one that's maybe a little bit too much and trollish, and I know what I'm doing, there's 10 that are just funny and stupid, and nobody ever pays attention to those. But you know what's happening is Embiid is delivering on all the promise of his talent. And the Sixers are winning enough games. You know, around 500. That's actually pretty good for a young team, a group that has not played much together. So that feels like an accomplishment. But while he sat out for 2 years, Will, I'm telling you, the story about Embiid became a bit of a jokester. Not sure that he's in great shape. You know, he's on Twitter all the time. He's asking out Rihanna. Like, I'm not sure if this guy takes us that seriously. That's when he wasn't playing. Now that he's healthy and he's playing and he's even better than people could have imagined, he's the same exact guy, but now it's fun.
You know what I hate about that analysis? It's not that it's wrong, because it's not wrong. Is that it validates one of those sports cliches that you hear so often that I'm just like, okay, that one did nothing for furthering my understanding. You know which one I'm here? You hear winning washes the stench off of everything.
Sure.
Winning solves everything.
Right.
Yeah. But clearly
yeah,
you're
like
right.
You don't know that.
Let me ask you this. Who is getting the benefit of the doubt on behavior that we would not forgive but for the fact they win? The most. Who gets that the most?
Baker. Like, I mean, right now, in the moment that I can think of. You know, I don't think LeBron does anything that's that bad. You
Right.
know, he embellishes calls. I mean, who cares?
Draymond Green.
Yeah, Draymond. If he was on a team that struggled,
Right.
you'd go, you can't win. You'd be saying, hey, you can't win with this guy,
Right.
When in fact you can win with him,
Right. Which means that the platitude isn't like 100% bulletproof.
Yeah, Russ. If we start talking about stars in the league, like Russ doesn't get in trouble. He doesn't do anything wrong. He's just tough to play with. And
Right.
we're starting to see that become a bigger problem with the Thunder. But that's the whole thing here. I don't know. I'm just thinking right now, like Baker does stuff that you go,
Hey, my name's Jack. I'm the founder and former editor-in-chief of Crack.com and the host of the new How Stuff Works comedic news and pop culture podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist. Our goal is to tell you about the ideas that are out there changing the world. We talk politics and news, but we also cover supermarket tabloids, which might seem stupid, but millions of people pass those every day, and they absorb the ideas on the cover whether they want to or not. We also take movies pretty seriously because when we picture something that we haven't experienced, you generally use movies. You probably picture Terminator 2 when picturing a nuclear explosion, even though that's not actually what they'd look like. Anyways, we're trying to take the temperature of what's affecting the national shared consciousness, which sounds a little more hippie-ish than we actually are. But fair warning, guys, some of the content can get a little edgy, so not for young ears, but trust us, it's all in good fun. So go to Apple Podcasts and listen and subscribe to The Daily Zeitgeist. It's very good, is our catchphrase. We're kind of workshopping it.
All right, what am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to lead the show? I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to say. I know what I saw last night, but I feel like we've done this before. The Russillo Show, Will Cain today, time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Will LeBron James go to the Houston Rockets? Is Will Cain going to tear it up at happy hour tonight? We're going to assess the quarterbacks that we used to love 2 years ago versus the quarterbacks that we love this year. Young dudes.
But first, what are you supposed to talk about?
You got to lead with the Pats. I mean, you don't have to. If you had some really great, clever, written-out take on some other thing that I would defer, I would say, okay, yeah, we can do that instead. But I think you have to lead with the Pats when they go down and lose to a Miami team the way they did. I mean, it's a one-score game, not if you watched it.
And what are you supposed to say?
Okay, here's what I would do. I would go, do I come in today and go, man, this Pats team that we all love, number one in everybody's power rankings, some defensive problems again. Brady was terrible on third down. So you could do two different things. You could go, that defense that was so bad in the beginning of the year, is it actually sneaky, not that good, and tricking us for a few in-between months? Now they're going to be bad, and I can't think about them as a Super Bowl winner. Everything with New England is, can this team win a Super Bowl? Or I could do did Brady turn 40 last night?
Oh, yes, that one.
Is anybody doing that one today?
Yes.
So he got old
overnight.
Last night.
He went from MVP candidate
yeah,
to finger slipping off the edge of the cliff in one night.
Well, how do you want to do the topic?
Let's start with Brady.
Okay, no problem.
But the theme, Ryan, that you're hinting at is the same. Whether or not it's the Patriots in general or Tom Brady in particular, it's how can we overreact to a sample size of one game? How can we reevaluate everything that we know, even after we've been warned? How can we make this same mistake again? The warning, when it comes to the Pats, is we were granted a 4-game sample size at the beginning of the season that the Pats defense is horrendous.
It was the worst in the NFL about a month into the season.
And it was true.
Yeah.
But it was carried over to is a fatal flaw and can't be fixed.
I think it was okay at the time. You'd look at the personnel and you'd go, is that front really good enough? Can they be an average defense? Because even last year when they were number one in points, it was weird. It felt weird. It felt like they weren't a dominant defense. And yet I looked at it going into last night. They were 4th in scoring defense. Now they're 5th in scoring defense. And yes, the personnel along that front is not impressive. I mean, when Flowers is out, you're like, okay, who are the dudes that I'm even afraid of? And Cutler looked good against him last night. But wouldn't it be stupid when we just did this a couple months ago? Like if you were off the Pats, because you go, you know what, that defense, it can't be fixed. They fixed it. They're giving you evidence of the thing you're thinking about doing by getting off of New England this season. We're not even talking about past seasons. This season, they already went from this awful, awful defense to righting the ship for 2 months to a bad performance last night. And yardage-wise, they're still terrible, but they're fifth in scoring defense. So
29th in yardage.
Yeah, they're one of the, four worst teams.
Right, but fifth in points allowed.
That's a pretty wide gap. And the second
It's also the kind of statistic that you should raise red flags on. It is the kind of statistic you should go, do you trust that points per game are always going to be low when yardage is high?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways that we could do this. The metrics will tell you it's not very good. Like I was looking at some of that stuff today. So forget the scoring, defense, look at the metrics. It's not very good. It's not very good. I mean, you go, okay, but, if you really want to bet against this team,
no.
Because if you've been saying, I'm playing the other side of the Pats bet, you're not just broke. You're like shelters ask you to leave. Okay?
Well, and now you're the guy in the corner of the shelter mumbling to himself.
I was right.
About Brady and the cliff. Because that guy, he's not just thrown out of the shelter. He's talking to himself, and those guys do exist. You asked if anybody's saying that today. Are people waking up today going, I told you so? Yes, but the guy who's saying Brady turned 40 last night, and Brady had a horrible game. Brady had his worst game of the season.
He was bad last night. Now, Howard, the corner, turned into Deion Sanders. Those two picks the second pick by him going one-on-one with Brandon Cooks and catching up to him and catching it over his shoulder.
Dude.
That's one of the best interceptions you're ever going to see.
I laid off Twitter. I was like, I don't know how to do
I like
this.
that.
Yeah.
That's good.
But that pick made me tweet. A very simple and obvious tweet. That's one hell of an interception. He hit the Jets, and not only did he hit the Jets and suck up Cooks, he caught that. I mean, it was pure hands, like on the run. There was no body catching. It was beautiful. That guy, Xavier Howard, I mean, the Dolphins in general, by the way, they have some players. Xavier Howard, Kenyon Drake is emerging as a real player in this league. But we're not going to reevaluate Tom Brady overnight. And the only guys that are saying, this is the cliff, this is the one I was telling you about, are the guys who've been telling you about it for a year. The guys have been saying this is coming, this is how it happens quickly, fruit turns overnight, meat goes quickly on the table, are saying this is it now. And I would say one game versus an MVP level performance throughout the year when he turns 40.
Will Cain, The Russillo Show, ESPN Radio, Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We're going to talk Embiid coming up a little bit later, LeBron to Houston, this article that came out, executives talking about it. I agree with you on the Brady thing. Like, you don't get to be the front runner for the MVP, but I think now him having the game last night allows Russell Wilson to be maybe back in this conversation with the game that he had against Jacksonville with Wentz being hurt.
I think it opens up the door to Antonio Brown. I think there's a real conversation about a wide receiver winning MVP, and the performance of those two guys and Wentz's injury makes that an open door that we should be discussing.
I think Breeze should be mentioned in it. I was looking at some of Breeze's stuff this morning. I know his total touchdowns aren't as high as they normally be. The guy's completing 72% of his passes, and he's top 5 in yardage. So now that we've reset what that group is, and this is just two dudes hanging out doing it, I've never been one to believe that the Brady thing just gets to happen. Like, he's the guy that just gets to decide to not age. Like, you really want to tell me avoiding certain fruits is the key? Like, you're telling me the pajamas and the sleeping, and now I'll admit at home, I crank the thermostat down a few degrees at home at night just to increase my age.
That's what they say.
Yeah, like I'm going, you know what? Let's get in the mid-60s here, Rye. Let's live a little bit longer. You got a lot of living ahead of you.
Maybe I should do that.
So
I said, where are you right now?
This is the whole 66 or so, 66 degrees.
71.
Yeah, I used to be a 70.
Yeah.
And now I'm down to 66, and I got to tell you, I'm loving it.
Don't toss and turn. Don't wake up in the middle of the night. Just hibernating.
I wake up all night. I watched Papillon the other night. Does not hold up. Leper Colony. Misspoke.
I need to see that.
Yeah, Papillon, Steve McQueen.
That's the second sell you put on me in the last 2 days on this movie.
Yeah, I'm in a big Steve McQueen phase here. Speaking of hot guys, so back to Brady.
Yeah.
I don't think just because you have the method and the pliability and the diet and all the stuff that you get to just play till 45, although I respect the determination, almost talking yourself into it. It's not a lie if you believe it approach that Brady has to aging. Like,
yeah,
no, man.
You're wrong on this one. This isn't LeVar Ball manifesting it with his words. It will be because I say it will be. This is a dude that has totally adjusted his lifestyle, put some thought, research, and science into it. He's not eating nightshades and strawberries, sleeping in the chambers you're talking about, wearing the special pajamas, doing the stretches that you talked about, the pliability, every single aspect of his life, from the ice cream to the girlfriend, are coordinated so that he can be an NFL quarterback at 45. I think he does get to be the guy.
So you think he does?
I think he's the guy.
Okay, we disagree on that, but at 40, turning 40 in August, I don't think it's crazy that he's still playing really well with the way he plays. The fact that he's going to know his offense and everywhere everyone's supposed to be the entire time. Like, it's just a different level, but I imagine there's going to be some hit where he looks old and then he'll be bad at playing quarterback.
Somebody tweeted last night, it might have been Pablo Torre, said, the dude that won't eat his strawberry just lost to the dude that said, I don't need to have cardio because I play quarterback.
Yeah, that was Pablo. It was a good tweet. All right, coming up. Popular. I just look, this is my position that Embiid is the most liked. He's the most popular in the sense that it's so much fun right now.
And he's in a honeymoon phase.
Right. And absolutely. If he's doing this year 5 and the Sixers are 500, which I doubt they will be because those two players are so special, we haven't even seen Fultz yet. Okay, let's do some football here. Would you ever think that you'd ask this question about this quarterback? This one guy who's a franchise guy today, where in 2 years you go, maybe it's not going to work out. And that could be happening with a couple of the younger ones. With Will Cain, the Russillo Show, at Russillo Show, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed right here on ESPN Radio. What if I told you Will Cain looks better in person? All right, Will Cain, the Russillo Show, it's ESPN Radio. We spent the first 30 minutes of this hour here kind of going over the whole Embiid piece. Go check it out, ESPN the Magazine, Ramona Shelburne, kind of his popularity and why it makes a lot of sense, but even the self-awareness, impressive from Embiid to understand that the honeymoon thing's going to be over at some point. People start getting on my case a little bit more.
I know we got to get to some quarterback conversations.
We have to do this because I've been teasing it for like an hour.
Didn't do it because I have an Embiid thing that's in my head, and I have to follow natural conversations where they are, so don't let me do it.
All right. Okay. Table that.
I'm going to try.
We'll table that until a little bit later. Okay, Goff has been great. We were talking about the Goff, Jeff Fisher. We were doing the Jeff Fisher quarterback thing. Is that thing still true? That's right. So 3 of his former quarterbacks are the 1, 2, and 3 seed teams?
Correct.
In the NFC. And Foles clearly inheriting that one with the Eagles. It's not like, you're like, man, I'm clinched the 1 seed. Like, now you threw like 5
Foles
passes.
is that 9th piece of evidence you accuse me of, like in First Take.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Very good. Well said. What about Jameis and what about Mariota? Have we seen enough evidence from both of them? And, both have dealt with injuries. And Mariota's kind of got this knee thing right now. But there's times where I watch him and go, wait a minute. What if we said it? And ironically, with RG3 being here, Van Pelt and I are still doing the show together. I feel like we're a year away from where you go, man, they moved on from RG3. Or this whole first year was a fluke. And it ended up being the right call. What if I said in 2 years the Titans are looking for another quarterback? Like, how much more confidence do you have in the 2016 top guys versus the 2015 guys who we thought in Jameis and Marcus were the answers to their franchise?
Immensely more confident.
It's not even close right now.
Not even close. I loved the way you teased this. Some of the guys we thought were the next guy are being passed by the next guy. The 2016 class, Wentz, Goff, Dak, immensely better than Winston and Mariota. Now, I think you're going a little too far when you say we could be moving on from one of those two guys in the near future, that it's not a stretch to think a year or two down the road that the Titans are looking for a new quarterback. I think that specifically with Mariota, he's having a bad year right now. But, last year, it was a really good year. Completed 61% of his passes, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's not the year he's having this year. But it was all trending up as recently as last year.
I guess I was always surprised. Now, it wasn't that I was anti-Mariota. I felt like the way he was talked about was this guy who had taken this real leap. And when you're a franchise that's been without a guy and you've been just shuffling through a bunch of different names, when somebody even looks like the guy, you get really, really excited. But I'd read these off-season things and it'd be like, oh, Marcus is clearly, he's moved on. The numbers are pretty good. QBRs are right. The split on the touchdowns and interceptions, he's the guy that took care of the football, didn't throw picks, great in the red zone. Well, now he's throwing picks, and he's throwing more picks than he's throwing touchdowns. His numbers right now are, I think they're worse. I think they're the worst of his 3 years. And,
it's not even close.
And Jameis, that one's not even close. He has been in decline now, what feels like for 3 straight years.
Is he in decline? Here's the thing about Jameis.
I guess we could do this thing. This is like the
No, but here's the thing. You and I called
deal.
this on Jameis I'd say a few months ago at this point now. Jameis sort of is what he is. We can't keep asking Jameis to be something else. Jameis throughout his career has been about a 60% passer. He was down to 58 his first year. He was up to 62 this year. But his passer rating, always mid to high 80s. Throws some touchdowns. But the fact of the matter is, Jameis throws interceptions, and he throws bad interceptions. That is consistent. I'm not sure he's getting worse. I'm not sure he's getting better. This is who Jameis Winston is.
He's somebody that fumbles the football. He's somebody that throws picks, and it's not just the mistakes. He had another one this past week where you go, are you lateraling it to the defense? Like the play is dead. The play is dead. You'd think that you could solve it, but then when you'd watch Favre and have these moments, and you're like, man, the old gunslinger, he never gives up on a play, and you win. And this is kind of back to some of the Embiid stuff you were talking about. You're like, oh, you can't ever count him out of a play. Jameis is just a winner. Well, now they're not winning, and now we're worried about the coach, and now we're looking at him, and yes, he's had some injuries. You go, are you ever going to protect the damn ball? Are you ever going to make the football, the possession of it, a priority? And I don't like doing the, hey, maybe, but I think the fact that we're even having this conversation 3 years into their career when you felt like these two quarterbacks, and you're right. Like, there's not one person to be listening to us right now going, oh, no. I would, if we're doing a futures game, I'll still take Winston and Mariota over Goff and Wentz. No way.
When we had this conversation, I tweeted out, essentially, Dak over Wentz, over Mariota, over Goff, over Winston.
You had Winston last.
I still do.
Well, now you must feel better about it, because I even thought then that was still too quick to move off of Winston and have Goff over him, and now I think you won. I think you're right.
But I had some other holes in that little chain. I mean, Goff belongs over Mariota. Winston, Dak, let's call it a close call.
You're talking Wentz and Dak.
Did I say Winston? I meant Wentz and Dak.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm laughing because I know you meant Carson Wentz. Because somebody's going, why is that so funny? I take Dak over Jameis. What about Carr? What about Derek Carr?
He's also had a regression year. Explain the Raiders in general this year. How were they so good last year?
We explained them all summer.
We did?
Yeah, because no one could name anybody other than Khalil Mack on the defense, and we made a joke about it.
Khalil Mack and those guys?
It was every guy we had on. Like, oh, Carr, the weapons, and then Khalil Mack on defense.
And those guys.
Like, can you guys, do you not have Google? Do we not name any other defensive players like that? That's the new rule for anybody listening right now, okay? When you hear an analyst break down your team, doesn't even have to be your team, a different team, and they say they like them and they can only name one guy on the defense, that means you could have some problems on that side of the football.
Here's a fun game. Did this at Thanksgiving, okay? To the guy that knows football, right?
Yeah.
Knows football. I know what I'm talking about. Name 5 guys on their team. Now just pick any team and say,
just
name
in general?
5 guys. I know you can.
I thought that was a challenge. I'm like,
no, you got it. But name 5 Titans.
The Titans always get caught up in that. Wait a minute, who's their coach again? You're like, yeah, Doug Marrone. We're good.
No.
I'm kidding. All right, the Russillo Show with Will Cain on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you. Have you actually asked a house guest to name 5 players?
My brother-in-law did it. And
who?
To me and to other guys. He's like, name 5 Bengals. I'm like, I can do that. And you can do it. But your wheels turn at about 4 or 5.
You know what? I used to know the name of every baseball general manager and manager. Like, if you had said, "Oh, do you know?" I'd be like, "What are you? Don't even come at me with that stuff."
Yeah.
Nope, not anymore.
Tyler Eifert.
I remember there used to be this theory that you'd go be like, "Oh, how tough is it to get your job at ESPN?" And be like, "Oh, it's so hard. They put you through this screening." Like, are you serious? Be like, "Yeah, they ask you about the Padres rotation." I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." So, Matt Latos. That doesn't happen. I don't know anybody that's actually been asked that. Urban legend. All right, up next. What's your ball experience in Lithuania take? Can you tease it?
Name the capital of Lithuania.
Lithuania town. That's next on ESPN Radio.
You got it.
I will give the Ball family, LeVar, specifically, all the credit in the world here. He has kept this thing going. I imagine at some point it will burn out, but with every announcement, every move, Not that his kid got in trouble in China, but then to yank him from UCLA, to homeschool the other one that's in high school, and then to say, okay, peace, we are headed to Lithuania, and both are signing to play professional hoops over there with a club that I cannot pronounce. So I could try, but I'm not going to. So I would imagine most people go, okay, this is too much, right? Do you think most people resist this? They don't go, hey, that's great news. I'm pumped for those kids.
Yes. And what's interesting to me is, why now? Why is this move so bad? I've been a LeVar Ball critic from day one, and there's sort of the way it is and the way it should be, Ryan. I mean, the way it is, you look at it and you go, well, you're taking away this college experience from these kids, specifically LaMelo, who could have, this wonderful experience at UCLA with his friends, trips, road trips. It's UCLA. It's John Wooden. It's tradition. It's everything. It's everything that other kids would love to have. And he's tossing it away like it's worthless. That's the way it is. Or that's the way it should be, rather. The way it is LaMelo was never going to stay at UCLA for 4 years. LeVar Ball is guiding these kids. I mean, LiAngelo was never going to stay at UCLA for 4 years. He was going to be one and done by all accounts. The point is, his dad was already going to take this college experience away from them. Taking them to Lithuania, to me, isn't the worst thing in the world. Taking them away from that attention they get in L.A., center of the media storm, dropping him in a post-Soviet Baltic country to seeing the way the world works, get a little taste of experience and worldliness, that's not the worst thing in the world. The question is, how long will it last?
See, that's the part that I underestimated the ability to stay in the headlines. And it's not just calling out the Lakers and going, okay, Lonzo didn't play well, your thoughts, LeVar, and then he trashes the coaching, which is a joke, because the fact that Luke Walton has this team playing top 10 defense, and it's a handful of young players that are all kind of mismatched, like that to me is very, very impressive. I think the Lakers are actually successful this year based on my expectations for them, based on who they've been. So anytime LeVar opens his mouth about Luke not being able to coach, it's a total joke, especially when you're the guy that just insults refs during summer league games and walks your team off the court. So let's not talk about coaching. But I underestimated his ability to stay relevant with just the transactions. Like, how did you – I didn't see this coming. Lithuania? I'm bringing my kids to Lithuania? What I don't understand, though, is that could LaMelo, who was at UCLA, ever go, you know what, I'm not going to be a pro basketball player, Dad. Can I just stay at UCLA and maybe – and I'm not trying to do the education is everything, which is obviously very important, but college isn't for everybody. But what if LaMelo's like, I just wanted to stay at UCLA. I know I'm not going to play a lot. That's fine. Why am I going to play pro basketball in Lithuania when I was a marginal recruit out of high school as it is?
You're talking about LiAngelo.
I screw him up all the time. LaMelo's the youngest one, right?
Yeah, and the one with perhaps realistic NBA aspirations.
Okay. Why is the middle one caught up in all this? Like, why does he have to go to Lithuania? Is this what he wants to do? Did he want to leave you? And now if he does, that's fine. Maybe kids want different stuff. And he's saying, I trust my dad. He even dropped it. I trust the process with this whole thing. But it's a continuation of publicity stunts, some that are real, some that are not, where I can't believe we're still doing this. Like, I'm impressed.
Yeah, the sin is delusion, because the sin is not taking away opportunities that other people would kill to have. Because, again, when it comes to Lonzo or LaMelo, the oldest and the youngest, the one with the Lakers and the one that's 16 years old, the path was always going to be one and done in pursuit of an NBA career. And you could argue, well, no matter how you slice them, how do you cut it, that was what we were going to do, no matter if we're at UCLA or at PSG Barcelona or whatever. What do they call their basketball team in Barcelona? FC Barcelona? Football club? No, not F Football Club. Whatever.
Yes, that one.
That one, PSG. LiAngelo is the one that you make an interesting point on, because he doesn't have NBA hopes. He doesn't have NBA prospects. But he's been filled with delusion by his dad that he is the only one who's actually giving up the higher outcome opportunity. Yeah, he's the one giving up the college degree for what? He
said in the presser, he goes, I trust that my dad will get me on the Lakers. Like, or is this part of the branding and just, hey, LeVar's going to the middle one going, just say this stuff. And maybe they all think it's hilarious. And I'm not, this isn't even really a knock. He constantly gets lost in this. The middle one isn't good at hoops. He's not that good. He would have never been at UCLA if it wasn't a package deal for the other brothers committing there. Okay? It's UCLA. So he probably wasn't going to play, so maybe that's why he wanted to bounce. But You don't just get to, like, LeVar has talked some things into existence.
Mm-hmm.
An NBA team giving your marginal prospect son a roster spot is not one of those outcomes.
Are you 100% sure?
You can make T-shirts
up.
up.
Are you 100% sure about that?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, what if LaMelo really is like a top 10 pick and he can guide that to the Lakers and now his two sons are on there? He doesn't have the leverage to go, I need you to make that 12th roster spot, Jello?
No. You're arguing for the 2% possibility here.
I'm also telling you it is FC Barcelona. It's Rudy got in my ear. It is, in fact, FC Barcelona. Quick note as well on this Lithuanian basketball team. Apparently, this Lithuanian coach is the LeVar Ball of that league. He has pulled his team off with 3 minutes to go in a game because he didn't like the ref's call.
Yeah, that's right. It was tie game, and they ended up forfeiting. I was reading that last night. Here's a prediction. They don't last there super long.
What I think this is exactly right. How long is super long? 1 month?
I was going to say a season.
Oh, I think season, take the under.
Yeah.
Take the under.
Yeah, because that's the whole point. Like, you need more headlines. You need to keep this going. Most of this stuff burns out. This candle is a lot longer than I thought.
You know what else? It's cold in Lithuania in February.
When does it start getting, when's the lighter season?
Northern Hemisphere, farther north.
All good points. Can you write off the Pats twice in the same season and still be wrong? Will Cain, The Russillo Show, ESPN Radio.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
Okay, Louis Riddick is going to join us. We're going to talk some football, more about those younger quarterbacks where it feels like the 2016 class has surpassed 2015 in a very quick way. We got Will Cain on The Russillo Show today. Reminding you to listen to all 3 hours of show on your phone, on your ESPN app. Apparently, too, we looked up whose school is the best of all the guys. All of our alma maters here.
Well, there's a Fordham helmet that the guys keep inside the glass over there in the control room. 2 of them went to Fordham. And I said, how good a school is Fordham?
2 guys went to Fordham.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Bubba and Mike Gay are Fordham guys.
So we got Riddick, we got football, and we're going to start with football. We're going to start with last night. And it's not just, wow, the Pats lost. What do we do now? We have top 5, bottom 3 that we'll do. And you're right, it is a little more interesting finally this week. We'll do it at the end of this segment. But you're left here going, all right, maybe I talk about how bad the Pats look on defense. Maybe I talk about, is Brady aging? Am I doing all these things? And I think it's impossible. Like, that's not the smart segment, because the smart segment was to hold off on your concerns the first month of the season when the Pats, in fact, had the worst defense in the NFL. So if you were wanting to sell the Pats, going, look, I know it's Brady, but hell, stop somebody. Your defense is atrocious. You're right up there with the worst teams in the league. And then they fix it for 2 months. And then they do what they did last night. I think it'd be ridiculous to bet against them now because of one bad Monday nighter after it looks like they had corrected their problems.
In fact, would you grant me this leeway here? What do you say we do top 5, bottom 3 right here? What do you say I'll let you tell you, or at least let me do mine, and I will answer the point you just made?
Can we get music, Bubba?
The top 5. We the best! And bottom 3.
Go town! Look at that.
Perfect. Top 5, bottom 3 brought to you by Sport Clips. You watch sports. We cut hair. It's perfect. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
Top 5. Number 5, the Rams. Number 4, the Vikings. Number 3, the Saints. Number 2, the Steelers. And number 1, the New England Patriots.
Let me hear that again. Rams.
Vikings. Saints. Steelers. Patriots.
I have Saints, Rams, Vikings. So we have those 3 teams the same. And our 1-2 are identical. Yeah,
really?
I'm not moving New England out of 1, and I have Pittsburgh 2.
All right. That's why I want to do top 5, bottom 3 right now. That's why I want to do it.
And this is incredibly important.
Pivoting off of the points you just made. Quickly, my bottom 3 are the Browns, the 49ers and the Giants.
Oh, I have the 49ers with a screaming green arrow, fully.
Oh, Garoppolo. Yes.
Yeah, come on, dude. Montana, just better looking. Cleveland, the Giants, Colts.
Okay.
Defense. Okay,
Thank
so
you for that music,
down.
Bubba.
Thanks.
Here's the point. I'm not moving the Patriots off of number 1 on my top 5 based upon what happened last night. Do I think last night is revealing the cracks in the foundation? Do I think last night is revealing the approach of the cliff for Brady? Do I think last night is the truth on the Patriots' defense? I do not. I'm not betting against the Patriots. The consensus best team in the NFL just lost their MVP candidate. As I looked at that, and I say, who do you have the most faith in? Vikings, Saints, Steelers, Pats.
We just dropped Philly outside of the top 5.
I didn't even feel it was controversial.
No, I didn't either. I'm like, yep, I'm leaving them off because I still like so many of these NFC teams. So, okay, last night we saw cracks. We saw cracks from a talent standpoint on that front line with the injuries that they had. Some dudes out there playing. You're like, wait a minute, who's that guy again? Where'd he go? And it's like the undrafted dude from Vanderbilt made the team. And you go, all right. So if I look at the whole Belichick thing and the amount of times that you thought, okay, well, Belichick's wrong here, and then he ended up being right, that's a really long list. It's a really long list of times where we have, as the public, 15 years of this run where you go, oh, well, that doesn't seem to make any sense. I mean, just figure that out. And you're like, oh, he was right again. It's an incredibly long list. The only 2 L's that I think Belichick has really had, in 2015 when they lost their last 2 games of the season and lost the number 1 seed and then ended up having to go to Denver, like that was stupid. They threw away 2 games at the end of the year. And look, they lost to the Jets and it'd be in overtime, but then they lost that last game. The snap count, I was going through snap counts of Week 17, 2015 before the show today, and you go, you know what? You should have won one of those games and not have to end up going to Denver because it's just Denver, and you historically don't do well there. And I think he had a stretch where he was pretty overrated as a drafter, but it was this weird stretch where he couldn't build a secondary. Other than that, Belichick's been untouchable. I mean, there's really not that many things that you could pick from. So to think that he is not going to figure this out again as bad as it looked last night when he just did it this season, it's just it's impossible for me to do the take of, Pats are done, dude. I can't do it.
They're 29th in yards per game, defense allowed, but their first 6 games of the season, Ryan, every one of those first 6 games, they gave up over 400 yards of offense.
Smoked. Every
one of them. And then you know what it looks like after that? Improvement. Each week. So I believe the point is, against the Dolphins just 2 weeks ago, they gave up under 300 yards offense. They were getting turnovers. Last night was a step backwards. But, I mean, you can't tell me that's a bigger step backwards than what they were dealing with at the beginning of the season. I think they can correct this. I think anybody today saying that Brady, what you're seeing here is the beginning of the end, Brady is approaching the cliff. He had an awful game.
So that's the other thing?
Do you think that's the other take.
Do you think more people are going with that? It's Will Cain, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. Do you think more people are going with that, the Brady aging immediately on a Monday night in Miami, more so than the defensive problem?
Yeah, I do. I do, because they want it to be true.
They want it to be so true. And it's so good for your brand as the guy to be like, I don't think Brady's just had a bad game. I think he's done. And I think he's done now.
And this is what I've been telling you about for 6 months.
I did a segment 4 or 5 years ago where I go, hey, likelihood is that Brady's window's closed. And then he won 2 more Super Bowls and has played in every single AFC championship game, basically.
I just think Brady's the guy. You put it to me earlier. I think Brady's the guy that ruins your conventional take. I understand statistics. I understand at what age most athletes and quarterbacks in general age out. Just don't try to apply it to Brady. Brady's the rule breaker. He's the difference.
Okay, but 40 is impressive. 40 years old MVP, which he very well could do, is impressive. But the stuff about pliability and 45 and no strawberries, like, I'm not here for it.
Well, yeah, but the point is people...
I'm not clicking on that ad.
Well, will you when he's 44?
If he's playing like this when he's 44, I will take the biggest L ever.
Will you worship at the Church of Brady?
I kind of already like him a lot now.
Well, will you adopt the diet? Will you start stretching?
Yeah, I will. I'll actually start stretching.
Will you order the pajamas?
I'll do it all.
Okay. At 44?
Yeah, right.
So in order for Tom Brady to make Ryen Russillo a disciple, he has to go 4 more years like this?
Yep, that's it.
That's it.
Belichick on that onside kick that didn't work.
Can you explain the onside kick? What happened there with that kick?
They recovered it.
Louis Riddick. We're going to ask about the Brady stuff and also how it feels like the 2016 QBs at the top of the draft have completely surpassed the 2015 guys. With Will Cain, Russillo Show. You're listening to ESPN Radio and watching ESPN News.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
So let's start at least with last night. It's not just what we saw. It was ugly. It didn't look good. But then it turns into kind of what do you want to do with the Pats? And my argument today is I can't come in and go, oh, that defense looks terrible because it did, or Brady looks old and he did, but whatever, when we've already seen them correct the problems from the first month during this season. So what do you do as a guy that understands this much better?
You know, some of this has to do – look, some of it was personnel last night.
That front line for them, right?
Yeah, well, let's say this. They're hurting at tackle. Right? So Marcus Cannon's not there.
All right.
So Cam Wake is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL history. Okay, Cam Wake is legit. Ndamukong Suh, when he wants to, there's the key.
Yes.
When he wants to. When we saw Ndamukong Suh play against the Carolina Panthers, play against Baltimore Ravens, did he look like he wanted to? Nah. Carolina Panthers almost had like 400 yards rushing or something like that. Something ridiculous. Last night, he wanted to wreck Tom's night. So he did.
Did you hear him after, by the way? Suh goes, yeah, they're actually not that hard to stop.
It's amazing what happens when people have their mind right and their motivation is right. Miami was motivated last night. So, look, they have some problems on the offensive line. Tom's been getting hit a lot all year. Miami exacerbated that problem. They don't have the Terminator at tight end last night. The guy who owns the middle of the field probably better than any tight end in history at 6'7", 270 pounds. So now that means everybody on the outside has to win. What does Miami do? The one thing that every team should do against New England, press the living you-know-what out of their receivers and don't let them off the line. As much as you can. Xavier Howard was doing that last night. And he can run. So now Brandon Cooks is going, who is this number 25 that is all up in my grill all night?
No, like
I can't get away from him.
That was amazing.
I can't get away from him. So if you have somebody who has those kind of physical traits, don't sit back like Pittsburgh did in the AFC Championship game last year and play cover 2. Cover 3, let's keep it all in front of us. We'll just make Tom go the hard way because he'll go the hard way, and then he'll put it in the end zone. Next thing you know, you won't have any possessions, and they'll have 30 points. So they expose some things that can really – Bill talked about this today. He said, look, there's certain things that bother our football team. Miami showed those. He's going to have to look and see if Pittsburgh is willing to do that now, which is a little bit outside of their character. He said Pittsburgh's not the same as Miami, but they have to be prepared for Pittsburgh to play like Miami. Because that's what gets after them. Do I think that they are flawed? No, New England was never that strong. They weren't as strong as they've been in the past, but they always figure it out because they are disciplined as heck, and Bill pressures them mentally to always keep fighting and let the other team lose it. Well, Miami didn't lose it for them last night. New England lost it for themselves by throwing those turnovers and stuff. So it's a confluence. It's a combination of things that I don't think it's time to panic. Look, you never panic on that guy, and you never panic on Brady. You just don't.
So it's not the beginning of the end for Brady.
No. Now, I would bet Tom plays his best game of the year next week. He just will. Bill will do. Look, I can't begin to tell you just how miserable practice is going to be for these guys this week. I've been through it. It was a hard day for them to watch that film. They are going to be told everything to push every button to get these guys ready. It's going to be an epic game, I think.
Sometimes, Lewis, you're unpredictable, so I don't want to take anything for granted here. But it seems like there's no debate that the 2016 quarterback class has completely surpassed the 2015 quarterback class. Do you agree?
Yes.
And what now do we think of Winston and Mariota?
And you know what? The first question is easy. Yeah, it has surpassed them. The second part's a little tougher. Okay, I think Marcus needs to be in a different offense. He needs to be in an offense that's a little bit more open, spread out, something that I would love to see Marcus Mariota coached by Andy Reid, by Doug Peterson. An offense of that style that has a run game that's not so rigid and predictable, but something that where there's a lot of zone read, a lot of run RPOs, a lot of misdirection, a lot of things that really keep defenses on their heels to really let Marcus flourish. I'm a big believer, in environments changing players. Jameis, I don't really know what's going on down there. I really don't. Because Dirk Cutter is the guy who they all thought was who they had to keep. They had to keep him with Jameis because Jameis was going like this. I don't know what's going on with him because he's got weapons galore. They got them all for him. When you have Deshaun and Mike Evans and you draft O.J. Howard, I mean, what more do you, Cam Brate, what more do you want? So I don't know what's going on with him. Now, I know he's been banged up, but there's no doubt that Wentz and Goff, when it's all said and done, they'll have much better careers, I believe.
We got Louis Riddick with us. Is this run by Jacksonville, and I was doing some of the playoff stuff looking into this morning, they still have a chance of getting the number one seed in the AFC.
Yeah.
I know Bortles has played a little bit better, although his man Fournette, called him a top
top
five.
five in the AFC.
Were you on the set with Ryan or who?
No,
you guys are losing their mind when Fournette said it.
I don't remember
because Ryan Clark. Covered his face.
No, that was Sunday night.
Yeah,
no, I wasn't there then. No.
So, all right, we can all agree on this. Bortles isn't projected to be a top five quarterback in the NFL, at least by the end of this season. But how will this kind of team run, the team success, impact the way the front office handles a quarterback that they're probably ready to move on from at some point?
Yeah, you know what? This is where you have to remain as objective as possible. And look, you got to make as much of an objective decision about this as you can, meaning this. You have to decide whether or not this run that they're on, is it because they are such a balanced football team, they really utilize the play-action game really well, and Blake is actually making some improvement, or is this something that's just a flash in the pan and you still have to move on? You can't be fooled because the body of work is too bad. Me personally, look, when you watch Blake play, he may hit. Look, every quarterback's going to hit a couple nice ones. They just are. Not every quarterback is going to dirt ball everything and make you just go, he stinks. Look at the total of what Blake looks like when he's throwing the ball. Half the time he throws the ball, I swear, he throws it and it's just like, he throws it and it's like, oh, I hope that goes in there and I hope that's complete. Or, man, that looks like might get picked. He looks so unsure every time he throws the football. I think he doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know. I'm telling you, he doesn't know. But Leonard Fournette, that's a grown man. He looks different running the ball. This offensive line, it's built in Tom Coughlin's type of image. This is what he wants. And they've got some speed on the perimeter. And look, the defense, geez, I mean, there's nothing more you can really say about this is the defense of the future. They'll be the best defense in the league for maybe they keep those guys together 4 or 5 years. They're going to go into Seattle like run defensively. They're that good.
Well, if you have a top defense in the league for 4 to 5 years, and let's just, for hypothetical sake, say you're running the Jaguars.
Yeah.
You do move on from Bortles. You got to have a better quarterback. I've already assumed, based upon the way you're talking, that you would. But and I hate to go past this magical season the Jags are having.
Well, it's not magical yet. They got 9
It's
wins.
pretty magical for the Jags.
A 3 seed with 3 games to go.
Where is the place you go? Is it Eli? Is it Alex Smith? What is it?
Let me rewind that for a minute then and say this. I'm not a believer in Blake, but if you're sitting in that chair and before you make that statement about I'm going to move on,
right,
you have to have an alternative plan. And I haven't thought that through for them. Like, what would I do if I didn't have him? I just know as someone who watches them, I'm not a believer. But before you make that decision, you have to have an alternative that is better. Not equal. It has to be better. Otherwise, there's no point in making it.
Alex is better than Blake Bortles. Yes?
Alex Smith?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Eli still better than Blake Bortles?
Oof. Eli has had a rough year. He has had a rough year. I know there's a sentimental component to it as far as in how he should have been treated. But he's had a rough year. Now, that has a lot to do with a lot of other things, too. Eli was never a generational quarterback who could put a whole team on his back. And as he's gotten older, he needs more help, and he's actually had less help. So, look, Tom Coughlin knows him better than anyone. And Tom has watched this team all year long. We'll find out whether or not they think Eli's better very soon. Maybe.
Good stuff, as always. Thank you.
You got it.
That's Louis Riddick. All right, coming up next, he's one of the biggest impact players in the NFL, and he's just a rookie with Will Cain and the Russillo Show. It's ESPN Radio. Yeah, we'll do this on the air right now. Who cares? We got Will Cain with us, stumping the room. Thought we had some wins, but you ended up getting there. So there's 4 states of the 50 in the United States, right? So 4 of them. Like, when did we get to 50? That have the same first letter as the state in its state capital.
State capital and state name both begin with the same letter. This comes from our guy, Chuck Salaturo, who makes sure we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. Can you name the 4 states that their capitals begin with the same letter? We put this to you, Ryen Russillo, me. Sweet Lou Riddick got in on it. Between the three of us, we could only get 3. I had to cheat on the last one.
Had to cheat on the last one. Would have never gotten the last one. Thought I had one. Forgot about Alaska.
You thought you had Alaska.
I thought I was like, okay, we're on the board. We got Anchorage. No, we don't. You know.
Right.
Didn't know. So
that's right.
That's a little hint there. We'll leave out the other ones.
I'll give it to you at the end of the segment.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll be here. All of our guests are on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. We are waiting on Marshawn Lattimore, rookie defensive back for the New Orleans Saints. Has been awesome this year.
Mm-hmm.
Another dude out of Ohio State. You think Ohio State guys get mad when Texas dudes introduce themselves and they say, Earl Thomas, DBU, Texas.
Well, there for a while, the Longhorns had a pretty strong claim to DBU, but I've noticed that getting watered down. A lot of schools are now claiming DBU.
I would love if some guy goes, Navy, holders. Just like make it more absurd, the whole thing, where you just go, I'm, whatever, Ryen Russillo.
Boise State.
Yeah.
Deep snapper U.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that.
Ryen Russillo, Gunner Factory, West Virginia. Like, what? Do you like
the high school call out?
I kind of like the high school call out. I think sometimes it's because of animosity towards college. Some of the guys are just shouting out their high school or whatever, and some of the guys, just are mixing it up. But I think some dudes don't like the college maybe they went to, or they're mad about something. Not that LeVar Arrington loved Penn State, and I did that Nissan hit with him. But when we had him on the show, I go, what's just the most fun that you had? He goes, man, probably high school. And then it went downhill after that. I'm like, are you serious? And I go, I understand your pro career probably didn't go as long as you wanted, but you were like LeVar Arrington highlights in college at Penn State. And I'm going, you still had more fun in high school? And he goes, yep.
What would you say? How much more fun was college for you than high school?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't play anything.
Oh, you're just saying because he played at Penn State, he was the big dog on campus, he was destroying people on the field at Penn State, must have been way more fun than playing in high school?
I just can't imagine watching LeVar Arrington Penn State highlights and going, you enjoyed football at another level beyond what you were doing to kids in the Big Ten. I think he's the first ever Defensive Player of the Year as a sophomore in that conference's history.
Can you imagine what he was doing to high school kids? That'd be like you joining like a U10 basketball league. Like, would it be fun? Yeah. I had a lot of blocks, man.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still 100,000 Happy Valley. I mean, I understand dominating it, but I mean, you're not even being challenged. And LeVar was jumping over piles, the LeVar leap, all of these things. And he's like, yeah, high school was the peak. So I wonder if some guys
Let me ask you a question. I'm not being challenged, okay? This is in the same vein.
Yeah.
If I put you into the Little League World Series right now, how many strikeouts would you get?
Pitching?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Latimore's
not happening, folks. That was
just lost Marshawn Lattimore?
We just lost. She's like, man, I hate LeVar Arrington. I'm an Ohio State guy. You guys talking Penn State, hung up.
I'm going to ask him what he had more fun at, high school or college. Could you throw a no-hitter in the Little League World Series?
No way. No. Okay, if we really wanted to break it down, science-wise,
yeah,
there's no way I could throw 70 pitches right now. My arm would, if you don't do that, if you're not throwing, like you ever do that thing where you see the guy be like, hey, let's see how fast you can throw it? That is a torn ligament game for dudes over 40.
How young do I have to go for you to throw a no-hitter?
Maybe like 25, 26.
Maybe not
late
how old you are, how old the batter is.
Oh. I don't know. I mean, it's like, look, some of these kids that are really good are going to turn on a 70-mile-an-hour fastball at 10 years old.
10-year-olds got you, huh?
Don't you think? I wouldn't expect to throw a no-hitter much against 10-year-olds. It certainly wouldn't be a perfect game because I was all over the place.
No control.
Yeah, all over the place. I got banned for sleepovers once when I walked too many kids.
You got banned by your dad?
I wasn't allowed to do any more sleepovers during one baseball season because I was walking too many people.
That's great. Call your dad right now. Can we get him on the line? I want to talk about that parenting psychology because I'm on the edge of it right now.
My father and I had a lot of life lessons discovered because, look, I was the oldest, so I was their first run-through, and I've said numerous times separately my parents were as loving as you can imagine. Like I love my mom and I love my dad. My mom was my mom. She was your mom. She would fix things. She was great at being the role of my mom. And then, my dad's my hero. And he, I think, it's funny that being at 42, sometimes I can still have him in my head a little. And Stanford Steve called me on that when we first started hanging out. He's like, your dad just dominates you. I go, well, yeah, but like in a good way. So he'd have the construction truck and I would be riding shotgun and we would have these life pep talks. We would have these things that we would do, and like the younger siblings didn't have to deal with any of this stuff. But baseball and basketball were a big part of it. So if I'd start walking guys, I had a game where I walked a ton of people, and he goes, "Hey, Rye, sleepovers over."
That you can dial it in.
Because you're probably staying up late watching Friday night videos.
I want to talk to your dad because I literally told my wife, no sleepovers night before a game, which I think is completely rational. Look,
I think you're right, by the way.
He
My
stays
dad
up
was
all
right.
night.
Yeah.
He stays up all night. He's tired during the game. That's not happening. You can sleep over after the game, not before.
And the thing is that what really set him off is I walked in the winning run in the game where I ended up being banned from sleepovers, and it was a nerd kid. It was a little nerdy kid that didn't want to swing the bat, and I just gifted him one. Ricky Vaughn style. And my father's like, you let that little dork, that little geeky dork nerd. He's
Your
like,
dad say those
oh,
things?
yeah, he was just ruthless. He goes, the kid's a nerd, and you just let that little nerd walk to first base, and you didn't even throw him. You didn't even throw him a strike.
How old are we talking here?
10.
Huh.
It was in your face parenting.
Yeah.
And then I had a time where I looked at a third strike at the very beginning of the season, and he goes, don't ever do that again. And I didn't for like years.
I'd like to talk to your dad.
He'd like you. You guys like each other. My dad's he's a man's man. He's a good guy, honest man.
All right. You guys ready? Bubba, you got any answers for the 4 state capitals?
I can only come up with one. I'm disappointed.
What do you got? What's your one? 4
Hawaii.
state capitals that begin with the same letter as the name of the state.
Hawaii.
That's right. Honolulu, Hawaii is one of the 4. Nothing, Mike A?
I've actually got 4 for the final 3. I don't know which one is wrong.
You've got okay.
I one of them is Pennsylvania. One of them.
It is not Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Harrisburg. Okay, so is it Montana?
Helena, Montana. No,
it is. I'm wrong all over. the
What was
place
your guess of Montana's capital? Because there's like 5.
Missoula.
Missoula. No, not Missoula.
No, that's what I thought it was.
All right, you got one more. Come on.
All right.
It's big sky. Everybody knows
South
that.
Dakota.
Pierre, South Dakota. No,
It's not Sioux Falls. All right, so I'm all over the place.
Okay.
Got it.
I've got 0 for.
I've got
He had
0.
4 for 3
All right, well, I guess
slots.
I'm in the lead with one.
Because I asked Will if he would have gotten the one that came last, and I mentioned the state, but I didn't know. And then Will goes, I'm pretty good with the state capitals. And that's the least surprising thing Will Cain has ever said to me, that Will Cain, good at state capitals. And I love that about this guy.
You got any, Rudy?
I'm coming in late on this. No, I have none.
All right, here they are.
You know what, though? Let's tease this because it plays in perfectly to the whole school rankings thing.
Oh, yeah, this could tie into what each of our schools is ranked.
All right, we'll give you the answer to those next. And previously, when I called out Will's fighting style, it's ESPN Radio. We teased the capital quiz. There's people listening to the show right now. It's like, I don't even like Russillo that much. I just want to know the damn capitals. So here it is, Will Cain, the Russillo Show. It's ESPN Radio. And this will segue in perfectly to our previously and the school ranking thing. So we'll do all the nerdy stuff here. So here's the deal. 4 states, their capital begins with the same letter as the state. So
Bubba has one more. I'm going to let some redemption here with Bubba. What is your one?
I got the second one I got was Delaware.
That was the hard one.
I've not spent any time in Delaware.
I don't know that I've been to Delaware either.
Yeah.
Dover, Delaware. Good job, Bubba. I had to cheat on that one. I had to look that one up. I got the other 3.
So Honolulu, Hawaii, Dover, Delaware. Rudy, you got one?
Indianapolis.
Yes.
Nice.
One of the 4. Indianapolis,
Very sneaky
Indiana.
city.
One more. Want to contribute, Mike? Can't get
Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Yeah!
That was the one I didn't say before.
Oh, you had that one. We shouldn't get to it? There you go. That's your 4 state capitals. Begin with the same letter.
So the reason we bring that up is because Will went to Pepperdine. I went to Vermont. That's not what UVM stands for. A lot of people think is it University of Vermont? Like, yep, nailed it. Quinnipiac Steve, formerly Cerruti, he went to Quinnipiac. And then both you dudes went to Fordham, Mike A. and Bubba. Yeah. My acceptance rate at my school now is not the greatest. So I don't think my school ranked nearly as high as when I got into it.
Well, this came up because they have a Fordham helmet in there, and
Yeah.
it turns out two of the guys behind the glass went to Fordham, both Bubba and Mike A. So that led me to wonder, because this is what guys do.
Some
Whose schools
guys.
rank the highest? Some guys. Well, there's something to compete at, rank, list, brag about.
Hey, have you met my friend Will? Tell him where you went to school. We'll rank him. Another round of buds.
Have you met my friend? No, how tall is he?
Okay, so I'm going to guess Pepperdine's number one. It's not even close, right?
Well,
based on the rankings,
we've got
ranking
Fordham,
systems we're using?
Pepperdine, Vermont, Quinnipiac, and if we count Smallman, who's not here, and we should count Smallman,
Yes.
and Illinois. That's 5 schools.
Everybody gets in Illinois. Isn't there like 400,000 kids in that school?
Illinois came in second.
It's second best?
Yes.
And what were you doing? Just U.S. News?
And World Report. Yes.
So
The definitive
it's
list.
not just acceptance rate here.
It's your school ranking according to U.S. News and World Report, which I would
Pepperdine
imagine.
has to be one then.
Hey, look, Pepperdine's number one of these schools. Yes.
Well, of course it is.
That's why we're doing the segment.
Big blue wave.
Number 46. I didn't think Pepperdine was. Yeah, I mean, it's not the hardest school. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. All right. But it's a good school.
all right,
Sorry that it was your safety.
all right. So
The Sorbonne. was my
now
safety.
Fordham
Fordham's 3.
Fordham is third, 61.
All right. So I'm going to guess Vermont's 4th. Quinnipiac's 5th.
Vermont is 4th, 97th in the country.
Yeah, it used to be higher, man.
Quinnipiac is ranked 13th in the regional universities of the North.
So what's that overall? Do they qualify for an overall?
Sort of I think it's like a play-in bracket into the tournament.
Yeah, so it's one of those Tuesday games. What's the deal, Shruti? You had different stats though that
Well, on U.S. World Report, News and World Report.
it's a long
whatever it's
name.
called,
I screwed it up too.
There's the ranking and then there's the overall score.
Oh,
Now the overall score, Quinnipiac is the highest overall score of an 81.
wow.
Fordham is 60. Pepperdine is 61. Vermont is 50.
Oh man.
And I don't have Illinois because
Ivy
sorry,
of the North.
Small.
Or
Yeah, the public Ivy. That's what we used to say in the 90s about UVM. When you got into UVM back then, it was like, man, I got into UVM. It's pretty good.
like getting into Brown.
Yeah, just like Brown. Cheaper. More parking. Not the case anymore. There's no way Quinnipiac's nicer than Pepperdine. Have you driven past Pepperdine? Have you walked around?
Oh, I'm not saying it is.
Okay.
I'm not saying it is at all.
He's just saying they
Great
performed
polling
well
institute,
in the
though.
play-in bracket.
They did.
Got into the tournament.
The metrics are off, though.
And
after
took a few down.
After that first game.
Yeah.
We talked about debate fighting style here on Previously when we were doing an NBA topic. So here you go.
Previously on the Ryen Russillo Show.
I think LeBron buying a house last week, a new, what was it, $23 million mansion?
Yeah.
I think, at the very least, that's super fishy. If it's going to be your fourth home, what's wrong with the one you had? Why do you need a second? Can you deny that's investing in L.A.?
Oh, my God. What am I, on the witness seat? So this is my point. What the hell does that have to do with anything? Yes, he'll be paying taxes in L.A., and those will go to community outreach programs. Like, technically, I have to answer yes that it's investing in L.A., but why? Like, the L.A. Lakers storied franchise, not the Houston Rockets. Okay, fine. Like, you can't see him in the Rockets jersey versus the Lakers jersey. What is the young talent on L.A. other than a million question marks right now? Do you think LeBron James wants anything to do with the LeVar Ball deal and his son? He really is like, I can't wait to sign up with this. This is going to be sick. So I suggested that you will include extra things that maybe are not the strongest points to win debates on your TV show.
Then I'm just dogpiling evidence on there, right? It goes like this. Jeff Fisher, awful. Look at all the quarterbacks that are performing right now that Jeff Fisher mishandled. I mean, I'm talking about the top-seeded teams in the NFC, all ex-Jeff Fisher quarterbacks. Look at it. You got Jared Goff, you got Case Keenum, and you got Nick Foles. And your point is the Nick Foles one undercuts the other two because Nick Foles isn't responsible for where the Eagles are today.
Right. It was kind of like when Tennessee fans were really upset that the national media was beating up on him after the Schiano thing. And they go, oh, Schiano's rep by a CAA guy. Oh, look at all the big voices on ESPN that are from CAA. And then they started naming people that have never talked to anybody in the college football world. But it didn't matter if it was right or not. It was just another name. Like,
and I accused you of taking down straw men when I clearly said this is my first take, non-thinking analysis, and you destroyed it about him not being a Houston Rocket.
You said it on the air, so what was I supposed to do? Just sit here? To ask me, is LeBron investing in LA by buying a house there? Well, I don't have an out. I can't turn around.
You don't buy houses in places you don't want to live.
Yeah, but he's already had a house there. He could have already gone there before.
Upgraded.
Well, it's been a good year. I love that Maverick Carter goes, what do you think you're going to do if he lives in L.A.? Shoot more movies during the season? He can't. And how many movies is he going to be in?
Where does he play next year? Biggest odds. Quickly.
I still think it's Cleveland. But the Houston thing is at least you could connect the dots to it a little bit. Do you really think LeBron wants to be with LeVar Ball?
I think he wants to be at the Lakers, yes.
Okay. All right. We'll be off tomorrow. It's ESPN Radio, Russillo Show.